Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers.
I can't tell you how excited I am to be on right now. It's been a couple of weeks of excitement, getting prepared, and I've done a lot of things in my life, but this has got to be close to the top.
Thank you, and Reader's Magnet, and thank you, John, for putting this forth and taking the chance on us authors in presenting this out to the world.
I've enjoyed this immensely, Joanne.
Ellie, so have I. Thank you for who you are, and thank you, Reader's Magnet. You all are beautiful, and you've worked so very hard, and we are blessed.
We are.
I thank everybody that's involved with this process, because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers. We thank Reader's Magnet and everybody that's involved. I love Reader's Magnet. They say, we share your stories with the world.
Hello again. Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers, and my name is Kerry Marzock, and this is my fourth night, and hopefully I'm getting a little better and a little less nervous than the first night this past Tuesday. I want to thank everybody for joining in. I also want to give a shout out and thanks to all the wonderful people at Reader's Magnet who've helped put this on. All of the, each night, the great people who have directed this particular session. And so tonight, basically what I want to do, if I have the time, is read a couple chapters of Raven's Rage. Raven's Rage is the second installment in my Raven series. The first book was Raven's Way, and that takes place in Philadelphia. That is a picture of the Philadelphia skyline with a couple cute little wolves howling out at the moon. And then the follow-up to Raven's Way is Raven's Rage, Order of the Claw. It picks up where the Raven's Way left off, and also ends with the definite possibility of a third novel, which I have started, and that will be called Raven Unleashed. I'm hoping maybe on Monday night when I'm on, I'm going to go ahead and read the first chapter of Raven Unleashed, give you an idea what it is. So tonight I just want to speak a little bit about settings and how they kind of interact with at least how I write anyway. I tend to write about places that I know, that I'm familiar with, and also I like to do a lot of research, definitely about certain places and the history of certain places. This is why in Raven's Rage, the final battle is fought at one of the most historical places in Philadelphia, one of the most, if not the most, evil and terrifying place for people to go through. And there is a chapter in this book that I would like to read at some point. I don't know if I'm going to have time tonight. But I write about the history of Eastern State Penitentiary. So Settings. The first chapter of Raven's Rage actually takes place. There's a highway. Actually, it's not a highway, it's a road, Route 23, that goes from Philadelphia to Lancaster. And I lived in Philadelphia when I was writing this book. Of course, I lived in Philadelphia almost 50 years. My family mostly lives in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So I would drive back and forth a lot. And a lot of times I like to take the more scenic route of Route 23. And I think my cat Cleo is now, after 4 nights, finally joining me. I guess she's, I guess she doesn't understand why mommy's ignoring her so much. But Route 23 goes through Amish country. It's a great place to stop in the summertime. You stop at all the Amish stands and just get some fantastic food, and it's really a great place to drive. You don't have to drive the turnpike and spend the exorbitant amount that they want anymore for turnpike fees. So the first chapter of Raven's Rage actually takes place in the crossroad. You take Route 23. You take Route 23 up a certain way, and then you make a right on Route 123, and then that takes you to the Lancaster bypass. So this first chapter actually starts there. So I'm just going to go ahead and start reading this chapter and see how much time is left after I'm done. This evening was one of those bitterly cold, late January nights. It was the kind of steel blade cold that can nastily grab hold of your body like an evil hand, clutching your shivering bones with monstrous intent. Puffs of white steam exploded from the horse's quivering nostrils, like an old-time steam locomotive crawling up the tracks of a long hill, coughing out painfully, "I think I can, I think I can." The steady clip-clop of hooves on the lonely pavement echoed with intense apprehension. Accompanied by a nervous whinny now and then, the horse's acute senses were on high alert for something dangerous, possibly deadly. The animal was simply not aware of why or for what terrible reason. It somehow sensed that death was out there in the darkness, waiting to strike violently from some unsuspecting direction. Inside the small one-seat buggy rode Adam Yost and Hannah Kleinfelter. They tightly clutched frigid hands, a thick woolen blanket covering their legs. Even though quite tired, they were still beaming over the wonderful day spent at their closest friend's wedding. The adoration this young Amish couple had for each other was strengthened even more after seeing the happiness of newfound wedding bliss displayed by their longtime friends, Jacob and Abigail Neff. Their special moment could not happen soon enough. Hannah was already planning a loving dinner she would prepare on some future Sunday for Adam. At that time, they would announce their plans of marriage when their parents returned from the normal Sunday gathering of families. It was traditional for the Amish, plain folk as they call themselves, to make their intentions known in this fashion and then have it broadcast to the entire community during church services. They had talked in hushed tones all throughout the day, giggling and whispering their own versions of sweet nothings. Proud parents gazed at them with fondness, aware that sometime in the near future, their children would be starting a family of their own. Hannah squeezed Adam's hand and smiled lovingly. She stared up into his strong yet soft and dreamy brown eyes with feelings that she had never experienced for anybody else. He was a wonderfully considerate man from a very proper, well-respected family. It seemed as if they had been together already most of their lives, meeting each other as young children in school, and then spending a number of amorous, exciting moments in the barn, hidden amid dark shadows in the hayloft. Hannah had been courted by a handful of other boys her age, but none ever compared to her Adam. Tall, with a strongly chiseled face, compassionate and so concerned for her happiness, he would be a deeply devoted, honorable husband, and such a loving, thoughtful father. Adam leaned down and kissed her lightly on the forehead. He stared into her sky blue eyes that sparkled in the light of passing street lamps, dull like porcelain skin, shining with just a touch of crimson on her cheeks. In one way, it was from the January cold, but mostly from the love she felt for Adam. He knew, and rightly so, that he was without a doubt the luckiest young man in their surrounding Amish community, though at the moment he realized he shared that right with his best friend Jacob. His lucky friend would soon be spending that first nervous night with the woman he had just wed. I wonderful love you, Adam whispered softly, his lips brushing hers. Excitement streaked through her body as she murmured back, You're my Adam. I love you so much too, her heart beating madly with a feeling she held for him. Staring out at the long expanse of empty road, he clucked a few times to a seemingly nervous horse. Gently snapping the reins, he felt a razor-sharp edge of concern. It was darker than normal since the new moon cast off no light, making those areas between street lamps relatively dark. A new moon occurs when the sun, earth, and moon are all in alignment, with the moon positioned between earth and the sun. As a result, the moon cannot be seen on these nights unless there happens to be an eclipse. And for many, the new moon beckons a time of rebirth, especially for monsters. Thus, Adam was thankful for the glowing street lamps along this lonely stretch of Route 322. He also noted how sparse traffic was, and then realized it was in fact bordering upon the stroke of midnight. Both of them had decided to spend a little more time with Jacob and Abigail in order to reveal their own plans for the coming year. He knew their parents would be extremely worried that the young couple had stayed out so late. They would be scolded for sure upon their return home and would have to promise they would never be so inconsiderate in the future. Yet, feeling warmly aglow deep inside, he was also aware of a very evident nervousness in his horse. A very trusting animal, he had painstakingly raised a spirited foal with loving care and patient tutoring, always his normal course of action. It took a long while preparing a horse to become fearless enough to pull rickety buggies and trot along these busy, congested roadways. They had to get used to being passed constantly by roaring trucks, diesel-smelling buses, and honking, inconsiderate drivers who seemed far too damn impatient to get nowhere fast. Unfortunately, all roads in the area had claimed lives, Amish as well as their horses. The shoulders and roadside fields were scarred with shattered debris from splintered carriages due to careless and stupid drivers. Tonight would be no exception. Death now hovered mere seconds away. It would not come from a careless driver either, but rather an evil which Adam or Hannah could never have come close to imagining in their wildest nightmares. The horse suddenly shied to the left with a frantic snort of fear, veering away from a dense thicket of brush off the road to the right. Adam frantically tugged hard on the reins, trying to calm down the frightened horse with a few sharp whistles. Silly, really, as if a whistle could abate the panic now nearly paralyzing the crazed animal. Adam, fusses lows, cried out Hannah, clutching his arm in alarm with both hands. Adam, however, was much too concerned in attempting to control the horse and keep him from tipping over. He was just grateful there was no oncoming traffic to avoid. However, it was not a vehicle he had to be alarmed about, though as a huge shadowy form leaped from the bushes. A deafening roar tore the night apart. This nightmarish apparition struck the frightened horse with the force of a tractor-trailer, raking the screaming animal's neck open as easily as a hunter slices into the underbelly of a slaughtered deer. The horse was dead before hitting the ground with a nearly severed head, lying at a most unnatural angle. The momentum of the attack spun the buggy around in a violent, hair-raising slide upon two wheels. Tipping over completely, it broke free from the dead horse and then tumbled several times in a dizzying, grinding crash. Black pieces of wood and shards of glass were flung in an exploding shower of debris, as was Adam's body, striking the ground with a loud, sickening thump, arms and legs bent at angles only meant for a Raggedy Ann doll. His damaged body slid across the pavement where it violently struck the post of a road sign that claimed no passing. Even then, his only thought was for his beloved Hannah's safety. He peered through a reddish haze of blood streaming from a horrible, ugly gash across his forehead, searching frantically for the woman that he loved so much. The buggy laid upside down, crushed and broken, wheels spinning like a carnival ride in the chilly midnight air. Hannah's stunned and broken body was securely pinned underneath a pile of debris. Her screams still echoed across the empty fields, praying that somebody would hear their plea before she and her beloved Adam were dead. Surprisingly, she was still semi-conscious, though gripped in terrible, agonizing pain from a fractured leg and a broken back. She could see the horse lying crumpled on the pavement, two legs reaching up towards the nighttime sky in silent supplication. Its nearly severed head was surrounded by a pool of blood, appearing like a dark, jet-black pond of hematite beneath a street lamp's severe glare. Another terrifying roar violently shook the night as Hannah let her frightened gaze peer through several openings in the destroyed buggy surrounding her. Suddenly, through one of the larger holes, a menacing shadow slithered across a thin shaft of light. She prayed it was a passing motorist who had thankfully stopped to give assistance. Sadly, though, prayers aren't always answered. "Help me, please, I beg thee," she croaked, unable to move, surprised that the initial pain was now succumbing to a grateful blanket of numbness. But life-saving assistance was nowhere near. Only a violent death the young, innocent Amish couple could never have imagined. Suddenly she felt the buggy being angrily lifted, dumping her to the pavement in a broken heap. Her pretty head struck the ground in a sickening thump, like an overripe apple falling from a tree. Thankfully, though, her beseeching prayers of assistance went unanswered, since she would be unable to realize the nightmarish evil that had befallen them. The concussion was such that she gratefully did not notice the long, hairy feet which had moved up to straddle her body. Even though she was still somewhat quasi-conscious, the ground and surrounding landscape had a surreal, alien feel. It actually felt like a dream, as if she was floating above the ground, looking at the accident scene from above. Adam numbly witnessed the entire horrifying event through a nearly black crimson curtain of blood that still flowed from his badly lacerated head. Total surrender of life possibly only minutes away. He was able to slowly slide his arm towards his beloved Hannah as she was lifted off the ground. She hung clutched in the massive claws of a devilish beast. Whispering her name for nobody to hear but himself, Adam watched in horror as the young Amish girl he dearly loved was lifted towards a nightmarish, wolfish head. Through eyes that were now barely open, he saw that monstrous mouth open to unveil huge, slobbering fangs, horrid teeth, which no living creature should ever possess. Before passing out, Adam stared with a horrified gaze as the beast stuffed pretty Hannah's thin neck between vile, frightening jaws. The young Amish man felt anguish in that he could not protect his beloved. He prayed that death would sweep him away towards a darkness he hoped to never escape from. To go on living and remembering this night would be like existing in a living nightmare. Thankfully, Adam did not see the creature crawl towards the barren, empty field, dragging his beloved Hannah behind. Her dead feet bounced roughly across the skeletal remains of broken corn stalks, tattered long black skirt flapping in the icy breeze. Her blood-splattered bonnet lay alone upon the pavement. It was all that remained of her youthful existence. Through the dense quiet which had quickly settled over the accident scene, a spine-tingling howl splintered the stillness. Lights in nearby farmhouses quickly blinked on. Adam fortunately did not hear the cry of the beast, for he seemed demonically lost in the oblivion of his own ongoing nightmare. He not only had lost the woman he loved, but also the will to go on living. Before total darkness overtook him, he reached forward with bloody fingers and whispered, "Hannah, I love thee. Please forgive me." That is the first chapter of Raven's Rage. So it starts out with a bang and continues with a lot of bangs throughout the book. As I said, Jenny, hi Kerry, so good to see you. Hi Jenny, glad to see you also. The book, especially the second installment of the Raven series, Raven's Rage, Order of the Claw, is just extremely intense at times, but there's also a very strong love attachment between Johnny Raven and Kathleen Morello. And near the end of the book, I don't want to give too much away, but Kathleen is in an extremely dire position, and only Johnny can save her. But he does go with other people that are with him, and they get there in time to do battle at Eastern State Penitentiary, which again is one of the really most fantastic places to visit in Philadelphia. I've gone there several times and took hundreds and hundreds of pictures. Helen Richardson, hi Helen, I just joined the stream. Hello Kerry, I'm glad you joined us. I only have 10 minutes, so I'm not going to have time, I don't believe, to read the chapter for Eastern State Penitentiary, so we'll do that on Monday. But what I can do is, as I had mentioned last night, I like to start my books and my novels with a poem, since I have a long poetry history as well, with several books of poetry. This book here is a Sea of Emotion, and it is, I'm going to say, a lot of poetry in there that was written really about my own life and about my own emotions and different things that happened. And this is my latest one that just came out recently. It's called Along a Burning Highway. And it is a combination of poetry, a lot of it dark poetry, and I'm not quite sure, somewhere between 8 and 10 short stories. So it's really a good read, and I hope those are also available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, as well as. Precious Margarina, wow, happy to see you again. I'm happy to see you too. Thanks for joining in again. I really appreciate that. Also on my website, which is, and the books are all also as ebook as well, okay? And if you're on Facebook and you want to reach out to me on Facebook, just search for Kerry Marzock author, send me a message. I have books here at the house I can autograph if you want an autograph copy. And we can arrange it, just through the message and stuff on Facebook. And as I mentioned, I do start and end each of my novels with a poem. Last night I read the first poem in Raven's Way. Tonight I'm going to read the first poem in Kiss of the Moon in Raven's Rage, Order of the Claw, which is titled Kiss of the Moon Beast. For me, while I lay silently draped, quivering within velvet darkness, the ending was simply the beginning. To feel death steal my breath away on a moon-splashed neon night was both frightening and exhilarating. Clearly, I knew what awaited me as I gazed hungrily into those eyes of golden, smoldering passion, for I was now enraptured, captivated, enslaved. I remembered that fateful night so well. It will forever be etched within my mind, branded for all eternity upon my heart. Your feral lips brushing mine and whispering, if I asked you for your precious life, would you present it to me now? I whispered back, you have but just to ask me. Feeling your long, rough tongue snake eerily against my neck, causing me to shiver icily into a vast unknown. Your voice echoed in my ears. If I held your lovely neck within my urgent mouth, would you scream in unholy terror? I groaned. To scream is but to fear, yet to moan is simply my deepest surrender to you. Tensing, I felt the sharpness of your fangs scratch the soft surface of my skin. Your hot, feral breath caressed my neck as you asked, if I beseeched you to accept the beast, the wolf who rules the night, would you do so now? With frantic heart pounding, I stared wantonly into a savage face of wild, supremely powerful beauty. I am nothing but yours to mold and shape, for with sweet death arrives the pain of rebirth. Let your hungry kiss be the mark of beast I so yearn to now embrace. Fearful, yet so anxious, I shut my eyes and welcomed such blessed pain to envelop me. Gasping out one final breath of lost humanity, darkness spread forever until I felt the drumbeat of a savage heart and listened to the haunting lament of a wolfish howl brush the skin of a glorious silvered moon. I opened my newly feral golden eyes and sniffed the air. With a growl of beastly desire, you asked, if I begged you for your eternal love, would you forever merge your beast with mine? Glaring into ferocious eyes, I howled with sweet desire. You have molded me within your own image, my sweet paramour. This love for you will last into eternity. An anxious moon smiled down with frightening delight upon the backs of furry beasts who now together proud the night. And that is The Kiss of the Moon Beast, which starts Raven's Rage. I know I missed a questionnaire that popped up. If anyone can maybe put that question back. I didn't. Oh, Precious Margarina. I'm watching your live sessions because I also want to be an author like you. Well, yeah, Precious, you know what? All I can say is that I spent years writing poetry and eventually got into long epic type poetry where the poems were multiple pages long, sometimes going up to 80 or 100 pages. And I did it with other poets, and we each took part. When it was done and everything like that, the name of Johnny Raven had also started popping into my head, and so I didn't understand why. And so a couple nights later, I wrote a 3-page outline, put it in my desk drawer, forgot about it. 6 months later, I opened a drawer when I was cleaning my desk, and lo and behold, I found the outline. I read it again. I sat back in the chair and I said, you know what? I don't know if I can write a novel. I don't know if I can write more than 10 pages, even though I'd written short stories before, but a novel, I don't know. So I just started because what I told myself, what was the worst that could happen? I couldn't finish it. Okay, fine. Then I would know I couldn't do it. But my suggestion would be just to write. Doesn't you don't don't worry about editing. Don't worry about anything. Just write down your feelings. If you have a great idea, just start writing about it. Try and develop some good characters that the readers are going to like and really get to love. Study your settings. Be strong in your settings because you want your reader to feel that they're experiencing that. I've had an awful lot of readers tell me that the Raven novels and even the Reptilian Factor is are like reading a movie. So if there's any movie people out there in Hollywood listening to this and they want the next huge Twilight type series, a series with a lot more in it, give me a call. I'm here. I'm waiting. So if that's it, if there aren't any more messages, I think we're getting close to being done. I hope you had as good a time as I did tonight reading. I love my books. I think I've probably read my novels 5 or 6 times over and over again. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I hope to see you Monday. I'll be here Monday again at 6:30 to 7. Either read another chapter from Raven's Rage or possibly the first chapter of the 3rd novel I'm working on, Raven Unleashed. So that's pretty much it. If there's no more messages come across, thank you again for everybody at Reader's Magnet for helping to put this on. And everyone have a great, great weekend. And if you have those furry pets in your house, make sure you give them a big hug and a kiss.